I am going to walk you through the IBM Bluemix Cloud Platform as a Service, which is an open standards cloud platform for building, running, and managing apps and services. You can use it for data warehousing and analytics, or transactional and web workloads. Your database comes with an on-disk encryption, daily backups, and a web console packed with features including a SQL editor, data import tools, and more. All you really need to do is load and go, and I will be showing you how to do that in just a bit. I am already logged into my Bluemix account, and if you're not familiar with all the offerings that Bluemix has to offer, what I'm showing you now is the full catalog of infrastructure, apps, and services that are available. I'm just going to scroll down and show you some of the possibilities that exist out there. So perhaps in the area of infrastructure provisioning, you're looking to build a bare metal or virtual server to use on either an hourly or even monthly basis. Perhaps add a high performance storage so you can go ahead and select from a variety of options that are here. Or perhaps even go ahead and add a firewall to secure your environment while you're going ahead and working with that. Some other items that exist out here are some of the boilerplates that may exist for your application development. So if you're looking to build any kind of maybe client or web-based applications or even mobile application development, you're going to be able to find all these various applications residing in this particular area. One thing I also do want to be able to point out is that you will see that some of these are IBM specific services or application, but you also see that there are also third-party applications that are supported out there that you can mix and match and use just as if they were all of the same. And then finally, we're going to be moving into the data and analytics selection, where now we can see all the various database repositories and tools of what are available at our disposal. Since what we're going to be focusing on today is dashDB, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that selection right now. Let's take a brief look at the features that are offered. dashDB for Analytics is a cloud data warehouse service that provides an in-memory columnar compressed data warehouse with just a few clicks. It provides in-database analytics and other data analysis tools. You have seen a brief example of how you can take queries that can run in just under an hour down to roughly 10 seconds and the technology behind it. IBM dashDB for Transactions is really all about having a database for transactional or web workloads. So where dashDB for Analytics is around getting your analytic capabilities and pulling the data out, dashDB for Transactions is around putting your data in. And then the last part is around connectivity. So you can see by the compatibility and standards that dashDB abides by, it pretty much supports just about anything you can throw at it. Now let's take a look at the variety of pricing plans that are available in dashDB. So right now, this is the plan that I am using right now. And you can see I am either paying nothing or $50 per month. So remember, in regards to our database being columnar compressed, there's roughly 10x to 12x compression. So while we look at no charge of up to 1 gigabyte of storage, that really can translate to about 10 to 12 gigabytes of actual storage that you're putting in. And then if you're looking at the $50 monthly of a 20 gig maximum data storage, that really translates up to almost 100 gigabytes of preloaded data or raw data that you'd actually put into the system. So some other pricing plans, just to kind of give you an idea in a ballpark, is the next step up, which is going to be roughly a little over $1,000 a month. It's one dedicated node, and you'll see about 64 gig of RAM is dedicated to that server, and it works on roughly 1 terabyte of uncompressed preload data. So for a lot of information that you may be working on your data warehouses today, or maybe your data marts, this may be something that's just completely sufficient for what you need to do today, because 1 terabyte of uncompressed data that can really store a lot of data of really what you're looking to achieve. And then from there, we just keep on moving up from there. So as you can kind of see, you're really, it's really a consumption-based model. The more you particularly need, the more power that you need, the more storage, RAM, disk, all that. That is really how this scales up. So it's kind of a pay-as-you-go type of model. So then after there, we kind of go to really the last of the what I would consider the offerings as a scaling out of the dedicated server. So you can see on this, you're looking at really one node, 256 gig of RAM, and 12 terabytes of uncompressed preload data. That's going to really store a lot of data of what you really need to achieve for most small, medium businesses that are out there. After the dedicated servers, now we're into this area of MPP. So the MPP or massively parallel processing options are all around scale out. So what we previously had looked at was basically taking one server and just giving it more and more resources. The MPP versions are really about adding more processing nodes to maybe what you already have. So what that allows for is linear scalability, and it allows for, again, pay as you go. And really, it really offers unlimited scalability out there. So if there's some folks in the audience that are familiar with the Pure Data for Analytics appliance or Netezza, that's exactly what this concept is really all about. So you can start to see of what's offered in both of those MPP versions of what we're looking at here. So as you can see, there are a variety of plans that will meet your specific needs. If there are any folks in the audience that are familiar with the Pure Data for Analytics, the concepts of MPP should look awfully familiar, as you're able to scale linearly as your business and data needs grow. So you never need to rip and replace or completely update a box that you may have. You can just keep adding nodes as the business needs are required. So what's nice about this is you never need to overbuy. You never need to guess in regards to how much data storage you're going to have and try to project in the future. You can know that and really add as you need to go. And when the time comes where you need to add another node, it's really as simple as just a few clicks, and you can go ahead and provision that extra capacity of what you're looking at. So now that I've kind of shown you the different pay plans and the different variety of configurations on this infrastructure, now let's go ahead and let's move on to our project of what we're looking to accomplish. I am now back at my main dashboard. So by selecting dashboard, I can now see all the application builders. So it kind of gives you an opportunity to go ahead and use some boilerplate templates and create applications on a fly, or I can actually go ahead and view the services that I've already initialized. And you can see I have 3 of them out here. It's interesting to see under the services I'm using 3 of 2,000 potential that I could use under this free account. So at this point in time, since we're focused on dashDB, let's go ahead and click on it and go into our environment. I am now inside of my dashDB portal where I can start to truly build and manage my environment. You can see that this is a simple web-based application where everything I need is at my fingertips, and I will navigate throughout to demonstrate its capabilities. So for example, I can hover over this portion where I can see how much data storage is being used. I can see the name of my instance, and over here I'm going to go through each and every one of these features over in the toolbar so you can start to get an idea how you can build and manage your environment. So I'm going to click on tables where we can start to view the schema and tables that I actually have in my environment. So one of my schemas, my personal one, is called dash 7120, but I can also look at all the other schemas that exist out there, and some of these probably look quite familiar to many of you out there in the audience. The classic Go Sales Data Warehouse, or the HR databases that exist out there. So just even by kicking off and building a brand new instance of dashDB, you're going to get all these samples immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and from Go Sales, I will select my product table. So then with the product table, what I'm going to go ahead and now I can actually see what my schema looks like, my column names, my data types, the lengths, scale, allow nulls, all the things that you'd see in a normal DDL statement. What I can also do is I can also browse the actual data itself in this interface. So by clicking Browse Data, I can now actually see the actual physical data that I have that is populated underneath the table. And you can see there's other functions I can go ahead and use as well. I can determine the number of maximum rows to retrieve. I can filter some of this data by defining a filter. I can go ahead and decide to hide or show columns of what I may or may not want to look at. And I can also take what I have and export as a CSV. Now let's take a look at the load menu on the left-hand side and choose Load Hub. That gives you several ways to load data. So there's a variety of options. There's desktop, cloud, geospatial, Twitter, and open data. And I'll go through some of those in a little bit, but I want to focus on desktop first. So this gives you the opportunity to load a file that's on your desktop, be it an Excel file, delimited text file, or perhaps a comma-separated CSV file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click load. And I actually have a sample census data that I got from the government, just public data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that data and I'm going to drag and drop it on the canvas right here. And here's the name of the file. So it'll give you all the various options of a standard, what are the file characteristics, and I'm just going to take all the defaults and I'm going to click preview. We'll see what the data looks like in just a little bit. So here's what the actual file looks like. So here are the counties in basically the state of Iowa. So here are all the counties on the first column. And here are really all the projections of population from year 2000, which of course is already long and done, all the way to the year 2040. So I'm looking at all my data, all the data types. This looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click next. And since I've already created a table in my schema, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load into an existing table. So from there, you can see my other option would be to create a new table and load. Since it already exists, I'm just going to go load what I have. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click next. Then from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select which schema and table I'm going to be loading my Excel file into. So this is the schema that's created by default when I built my dashDB instance. And here is going to be the name of my table. And what's kind of nice when I click that, it's going to give me a little idea of what are the columns that are available, the data types, etc. Just something very quick and easy for you to go ahead and view what your table looks like. Since I know this is the table that I'm looking for, I have my options here of appending new data to the table. So if there's data that's already existing, I will not overwrite it. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to replace any data in the table with new data. So this is essentially the same as a truncate and load. So I'm going to go ahead with that and I'm going to click finish. And it doesn't take very long and it's going to go ahead and it's going to load my data into this table. Alright, so it has succeeded. It told me the total number of rows that have been committed. Obviously this is a very small file, but it just gives you an idea of what is possible and just loading data that could be coming right off of your desktop. So here was the sample data. Where I'm going to go here is I'm going to view full table structure and details. So this is going to take me to the data that I kind of showed you a little bit earlier. So as we move over to here, and here we are. So now I can see in my schema, my table name, here is all the variables in regards to my DDL. So varchar 255 for the counties, and then a big int in regards to the length for all of my data fields that are in there. So now I can go ahead and I can browse my data, and this is what I just showed you a few minutes ago, where we can go ahead and take a look at what the actual data looks like and start to work with the data in a tabular format itself, whether we want to apply filters, whether we want to decide to add or remove columns, whether we want to export, etc. So we also have the ability to add tables and delete tables, so you have full capability to do what you need to do inside of the browser itself in regards to database maintenance, application, and development. I will now go back to the Load Hub and review the other options to give you an idea of what else is possible out of the box. So as we loaded our data from the desktop, the other options you have are to run a schedule or a load of an existing dashDB tables from Amazon S3 or SoftLayer object storage. Your geospatial, you can do a one-time load of geospatial data. And with the relationship between IBM and Twitter, you can load data from IBM Insights for Twitter service directly from another service in Bluemix. And then also open data as well. So you can find publicly available data sets to load into dashDB. And that is exactly what I did in regards to the census data around the state of Iowa and all of its counties from the year 2000 projected out to the year 2040. While it is great there are several very simple ways of loading data through the dashDB interface, it is probably more likely that you will be loading data via tools that you already use today, such as IBM DataStage, Informatica, SSIS, etc. Essentially any ETL tool that can use the OLADB, ODBC, or JDB protocols will be perfect to be able to load your data into dashDB. So as you can see on my screen now, I am now in the Microsoft SQL Server Data Tools, and I'm going to run my SSIS package that is taking the same spreadsheet that I mentioned just a few minutes ago and loading it into dashDB. So you can see here is my Excel spreadsheet, and here is my dashDB destination connection. So I am just going to go ahead and I'm going to click Start, and it'll automatically compile my project. And then what we're going to see is the data is going to then automatically load into dashDB. So you can see the data has loaded successfully. You can see that I have the 99 rows and everything looks perfect. So just a very simple example, and the purpose of this is to basically demonstrate that you can leverage existing skills that you already have in your organizations around ETL and leverage dashDB without really any kind of a learning curve at all. Back into my dashDB portal interface, I'm going to go ahead and continue to go through the rest of the menu items, and I'm going to kind of start to pick up the pace a little bit here. So I'm going to click the Run SQL menu item on the left-hand side, and what that's going to do is it's going to bring up a SQL query window, much like that you've seen in other tools that you've used in the past, such as SQL Enterprise Manager, Oracle, or any of the other tools you may have used in the past. So just to give you just a very quick rundown on this, it gives you a very simple template on some select statements where you have your schema and your table name, and just a very quick sample. But then you can see all the capabilities that you have inside of this interface as well, where you can do a run all, run select, run from cursor, so you can run portions of scripts within a larger script. You can export this script if you want to save it to your file system. You can upload a SQL script already on your file system, and you have a variety of options if you want to go ahead and select those, where you can go ahead and determine what your statement delimiter is, change what your default schema, etc. Just really, there's really nothing here that you haven't seen before and other tools that you've seen in the past. And this is just, again, demonstrating the various capabilities and functionality that you have within the Run SQL web client inside of dashDB. I will now go to the Analytics menu item and show the variety of analytics scripts and in-database analytic models that can be uploaded and used within dashDB. For those of you familiar with the Pure Data for Analytics Netezza appliance, this pretty much mirrors that experience. So you can see you can upload statistical R scripts, in-database analytic models, etc. I am also then going to do a quick check to monitor our processes and go to workloads. So by clicking on workloads, we can see of the activity that's actually going on our environment at the moment. So I can see that there's been no statements actually entered or running at this particular time. I can also click on connections, where I can see how many database connections via other client tools and applications are currently running out there. And right now that shows no items to display either. So if there were multiple applications hitting, much like you've seen other monitoring tools that exist out in the marketplace, you'd be able to see all that information right here. Now I'm going to click on the Settings tab and see what our settings are for dashDB. This is just going to give us a high-level global kind of snapshot of maybe what the name of our of our instance, where is actually physically located in which area. So our server happens to be located in US South, which is probably in the IBM soft layer data center. It'll actually tell you your Bluemix plan, so you know exactly where you're at in case there's any kind of discrepancy, and when this actual service was created and in which time zone. Next, I'm going to click on the connect and connection information, because what this is going to provide is all of your OLADB, ODBC, and JDBC connections. So this should look awfully familiar if you've ever connected any kind of application to a database where you need all your general, what driver you're going to be using, database, your server name, port, protocol, user ID, and password. So all of that information is stored here, and you can provide this to your users to give them the ability to connect their applications to dashDB. And these connections are without SSL. I can also very easily supply an SSL certificate and the connection strings and what the URL string is here as well. So very easy way of finding out all the information pertinent to your environment and being able to share that with your application developers. What we can also see here is in the download tools is just more ways of how dashDB helps you and really kind of guides you through the process of connecting your applications to this database. So the drivers and command line client, here are all the drivers that you need to install on your machine to be able to access dashDB. So here's your Windows, your Linux, and your Mac OS download driver clients. If you need to connect your database design software, so InfoSphere Data Architect, you can go ahead and download those for the various Windows, Linux versions that you have here. Database administration software, IBM Data Studio is something that's very commonly used for things like DB2, DB2 Blue, etc. And there's also another database administration software tool that I'm going to show you in a little while that I actually enjoy working with. It is one of my personal favorites, is Agility Workbench for dashDB. So if there's any folks in the crowd that have experience with Pure Data for Analytics, there's also an Agility Workbench for that application as well. If not, here's where your downloads and patches and everything based on which version of OS you have to download IBM Data Studio. dashDB also gives you the ability to download software conversion packages that perhaps you want to go ahead and convert Oracle into dashDB, or a variety of other database packages and OS versions here that you can go ahead and start to download and play with those as well. And then finally, you have your IBM dashDB support tools. So you can actually go ahead and some of the tools that support Netezza appliances, such as DB Toolkit, you can actually go ahead and via this link, go ahead and download that information as well. dashDB practically takes you by the hand and brings you up to speed quickly in becoming productive and start taking advantage of very high-speed database performance to turbocharge your analytic environments. Finally, I will go into the Agility Workbench for dashDB tool that I just kind of mentioned prior. So those who are familiar with Pure Data for Analytics or Netezza, this tool is going to look awfully familiar. It is nearly the same IDE you have been using for years. So here's the name of my database, so I can go. So now here you can see that here's all the databases, and you've seen this before inside the dashDB web client, but now I can actually see all of my databases and all the objects associated with. So here are my two tables inside of my dash 7120 schema. Then is what we kind of seen before. Now you can see all your tables for Go Sales, and same if you were to go ahead and expand for Go Sales DW. So just as an example, just to see how quick and easy this tool is to use, I'm going to go ahead and inside of Go Sales, I'm going to just go ahead and in the product table, I'm going to go ahead and script a select statement to a new query window. And as this comes up, you'll very quickly see the outline of your SQL query. And then since I have all the information that I need, I'll just go ahead and I will execute this. And as I execute this query, and again in tools that you've seen many times over, you'll see it'll go ahead and it'll be executed. It'll tell me how long that it took, how many rows were affected, and then it will go ahead in the very bottom, it will go ahead and it'll show me all of the data for that query. So all of my columns, all of my data that's in there. Again, you can even from here in your results set, you can go ahead and further create summations, filters, etc. So the results basically come back as you would expect. There's a lot of capabilities inside of this tool. I'm not going to go into all of that now, but I'd be more than happy to speak to anyone who has questions or comments around Aginity Workbench for dashDB. My advice really at the end of the day on dashDB is to just get in there and start playing. It is free to play around. Everything I've shown you today I have not paid a penny for, just to get an idea of its power and capabilities. But realize with the free version, you're probably not going to be realizing the same performance as obviously if you had a dedicated server where you're really truly going to see that difference. So again, have fun, play around with this solution. I think it's fantastic, and you're going to just see how you can really incorporate this into the analytics environments that you have today without really having to replace anything that you have. And again, if anyone has any questions or comments on this, please feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you very much for listening, and hope to talk to all of you soon. Bye.